Welcome in to HBD Sports. Today we have a special one. We've got our good friend Clyde here with us, and we're going to hop right into breaking down the Elimination Chamber from last night, what we think the WWE got right, what we think they got wrong, and just a bunch of other stuff. All right, here we go. What's up, Clyde?
Not a lot, bud. Looking forward to having this wrestling talk with you, and let's get things going.
All right, so right away, the first match of the night was the women's tag team match for the championship. It wasn't technically the best match in the world, but what it was historic, so it kind of stole the show just for that fact. What did you think about the match?
I love the match, man. They almost even got me. Maybe I'm getting older, getting a little softer, but at the end there, they almost got me tearing up. Also, man, I could tell that was real to them, to Sasha and Bayley, and they've definitely earned it. It was one for the history books for sure, man.
I couldn't agree more about the part about you saying it was real for them, but what I didn't like to see was them crying in the middle of the ring. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just like the old school in me a little bit, maybe it's like my inner Jim Cornette coming out or something, but like, like I could just see Jim Cornette screaming at his television right then, "What the hell are you doing crying? You wait till you get in the damn locker room for this." You know what I mean? Like, so I didn't like to see them kind of break character a little bit in the ring, even though they're both faces and, that's kind of their job. And I just felt like they could have just gave a little speech, but I know it had to be hard to hold it together in a moment like that with something that historic and being crowned the first ever women's tag team champions. It was a huge moment for them, and I can see why they couldn't keep it together, but part of me just wished that they could have. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll agree to disagree on that one. It was definitely historic, though, brother.
Yeah, definitely. So, what match do you want to talk about next? What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about what happened with Finn Balor?
Yeah, that's a good place to go, man. There's a lot to talk there.
So tell us. So like, set the match up for us. So like, what was the match?
It's Intercontinental Championship. You got the Monster over there. Well, I don't know if we should call him the Monster. What do they call him? The One or something like that. The One, Bobby Lashley. And then you had Lio Rush. He was in there. And Finn Balor. And good match, man. It was solid. I don't think there was nothing to write home about. But I just felt like that, and I think you're gonna probably agree with me, man. I felt like Finn should have won it fair and square right there in the middle of the ring.
Yeah, I do agree about that. I just feel like they didn't want Lashley, for whatever reason, to lose clean to Finn, and so they threw in this gimmick, with this gimmick match rather, and in the end, everybody looked worse. I mean, come on. I mean, Lashley looks worse by allowing Lio Rush to be pinned by Balor, and Lashley looks worse by losing to Balor either way, I guess, but it makes Balor look weaker, like Balor can't go over against Lashley, which is absurd. He should be able to. I mean, I just don't agree with the whole gimmick of the match. I didn't like the way they brought it home. I didn't really like any part of the match, but I do think that Finn's one of the most talented dudes in the world. I think Lashley's one of the most talented athletes in the world. I think they could have just went toe-to-toe and put on a phenomenal match.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, I think whoever booked that, they look at it like this. We want Lashley to lose, but we want him to lose and look strong. We want Finn to get the title, because I think they're trying to please him. I think they're worried he might go elsewhere. And with Lio Rush, that could have been punishment, man. There was a story. I'm not sure how true the story was, but that he was caught making fun of a child with autism. So this could have been a punishment.
I didn't know that part.
But I'm not for sure.
So we pretty much agree on that match. Then we think that Finn should have just went over clean.
Yeah, I'm with you there, man. And I like Bobby Lashley. He could have come back and got a win, but I think Finn should have got it right there in the middle of the ring, man.
I think so too. So let's talk about a match which I thought was actually maybe the most just overall entertaining match of the night, just because I love watching The Miz. But let's talk about the men's tag team championship match. What do you think about that?
It was short. It was sweet. It was snug. It was everything wrestling kind of should be, man. There wasn't nothing fancy. Everything looked good. The Usos, they had a real edge, man. I don't know if I can't remember if it's Jimmy or Jay that just got in a little trouble. I don't know if he was using some of that as fire, but they looked extra aggressive.
They did.
I was really impressed with that match.
They look good, and I was kind of surprised they went over because I'm sure, like you, like I'm always just reading on the internet when I get a few minutes throughout the day, and I had seen a story in the last few days pop up about one of the Usos and Naomi possibly leaving for AEW, and so I was thinking to myself, well, there's no way they're gonna go over in this match if there's a possibility they might leave. Miz and McMahon are ready to hold on to these titles, and so sometimes I wonder, is the stories that come out like that story about the Usos and Naomi that's out there, and you can Google it for yourself and see that it's out there, and now they have the titles. I mean, they're not going to put the titles on somebody that's getting ready to leave the company. Vince, that's something that's like almost like against the unwritten rules of wrestling. Like, you never do that, you know what I mean? So I almost wonder if they put those stories out there on their own sometimes just to keep everybody guessing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, possibly, but I do know this about Vince, man. He's kind of a rebellious character himself. I think sometimes he can overlook things like that. And before that happened, there was a story of the Usos not being happy. I think again, it seemed like everything last night, besides the main event, that they gave the fans what they wanted last night, and I think a lot of it is Vince. I don't want to say Vince is in panic mode, but he's definitely got to pay attention to AEW, man. There's no getting around that,
I agree about that, dude. I mean, I can see what you're saying there, but I still just think that they could handle things a little differently with some characters, like Strowman, for example, which they might have missed their window with him. They might have already buried him too much to even bring him back to Universal title status. But I agree with you about every match. I'm pretty sure they gave the fans what they wanted. Maybe, I don't know. The fans probably would have liked to seen The Miz and McMahon win, and the fans probably would have liked to seen Braun Strowman win the match with Baron Corbin. I mean, but other than that, they did give the fans what they want. Well, I don't know. The fans.
I 100% agree with you on the fans definitely want Braun, but the Usos, if you look back, man, that crowd was hot for the Usos.
It was probably about a 50-50 crowd. Actually,
yeah,
you know what though? When the Uso
interesting.
chants were going on, you're right. They was probably actually a little hotter for the Usos. I'm not afraid to backtrack and change my now that I think about it. But as far as the Strowman match went, I feel like they botched that. And if you're talking about people just going over that should have, I mean, we're both big Daniel Bryan guys, but Kofi, man, if he'd have gone over, that would have just blew the roof off the place.
Last night was one of the first times ever that I was pulling against Daniel Bryan. I've watched Kofi's entire career, man, and you couldn't ask for a better talent. I mean, some of the moves this guy does are just unreal, man. I think his time is going to come, bro. I think they're going to look at that last night and be like, man, we got something here. Maybe they'll use this to split the New Day up. Maybe Kofi wins and it's like, I'm too good for you guys anymore. Or maybe he loses and blames them. You know how wrestling is. They're always working an angle.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Before we get too much into the Kofi match, and I've got a take on that as well, let's back up just a little bit. Let's talk about what happened in the Braun Strowman match. What did you like about that match? What didn't you like, or did you watch it? What's up on that?
Honestly, Dave, that was a bathroom match for me. If I'd have been in the arena, I'd have went and bought some merchandise. I like Braun, but I don't know, man.
You've cooled on him, right? You've cooled on him, and that gets back to my point. I feel like everybody's kind of feeling like you are right now about Braun. Like, man, like 6 months ago, I thought Braun was the hottest guy in the company, and now I'm just kind of like, it's Braun. And I feel like that's the WWE's fault. Like, they had him, he was so hot. Granted, he's not the most technically skilled guy in the world, but he's a monster. He's Goliath. He's not horrible on the microphone, and he was as over as he could have been at the time. He should have had the strap on him back then. He should have been the one to knock off Brock, in my opinion. Just because Brock's not on TV every week, you get kind of tired of not seeing the champion on television, but once every 6 weeks.
Yeah, I agree, man. I feel like they have totally dropped the ball, but WWE's funny about that, man. As soon as you think one thing, tonight we put it on there and he wins the title or something, you never know where they're going.
I think putting him over now just wouldn't be the same as putting him over 6 months ago when he was the hottest guy on the planet. I mean, he was hot. Yeah, I don't know if he was hot as Kenny Omega or anything, but he was the hottest guy in the WWE at one time. He might have even been a little hotter than AJ Styles there for a brief time.
I think what hurt him was it was a while back they did that promo with him and Brock, and Braun really looked lost out there. I almost felt bad for him watching it, man. Like, was that
before or after he took the live rounds from Brock to the side of the head?
That was well after. Yeah, Brock gets away with a lot, man, just because of kind of who he is and the kind of money and the contract they got for him, you know.
So let's move on to the men's championship match. Personally, I didn't think there was any way Daniel Bryan was going to lose it, but it was nice seeing Kofi Kingston in the match, because we haven't seen Kofi Kingston in a match this big, I don't think, and we can go back and check history, of course. That's the good thing about this, but I don't think we've seen Kofi Kingston in a match with this kind of implications since he was in a match with Randy Orton. Also, back close to 7, 8, 9 years ago now. It's a long time ago. And
it's been too long ago for a talent like Kofi, man. He deserves what he's been getting here lately, and I kind of think they're gonna give him a chance. He definitely earned it years ago. But that last segment with Bryan and Kofi, man, it almost reminded me of Savage and Steamboat a little bit with the back and forth. It was classic. That's the kind of wrestling I like right there.
It was 5-star quality.
Yes, yeah, I agree.
It was 5-star quality at the end of the match. I thought the rest of the match was so-so, but by the time it got down to Kofi and Bryan and the performance they put on, like, I assume both men were gassed, like, even leading up to that, right? But when Kofi jumped up, when it was him and Bryan one-on-one, like, I could sense Kofi's emotions. I could feel it through him almost, where he was like, this is the biggest moment in my career right here. Like, and I've gotten thrust into this, and let's go, let's do this. Me and you, and he's like blessed. He knew he was blessed to be in the ring with a guy like Daniel Bryan, and likewise, Daniel Bryan knew he was blessed to be in that moment with a guy as talented as Kofi. And they seized the moment. They didn't let it go to waste. You know what I mean? It was beautiful to see.
Yeah, that is pro wrestling. That's what I love. It had, like I was saying, it had that almost Steamboat Savage feel where, man, just back and forth, and back. And the crowd was invested. And you could tell the guys were invested in everything they were doing. It was magic, dude. If I watch anything back again today, it'll be probably that match, the last match.
Oh, it was wonderful, dude. It was. What did you think about the crutch shot that Rousey took before we put a bow on this? What do you think about? Do you like the whole Stone Cold gimmick? I mean, are you liking flashing back and all this stuff? Like, are you enjoying seeing Becky come through the crowd on the crutches? And did you like all that?
Oh yeah, I love Becky, man, and I think her and this situation we're seeing with Kofi Kingston right now has a lot of similarities. Man, a lot of this is just organic. I don't know how much the WWE planned this. It seems like, the fans, when Becky turned on Charlotte, I believe the plan was for Becky to be a heel, but the fans made her the hottest thing in the WWE.
She's the hottest female wrestler on the planet.
Yeah,
and I don't know who's hotter than her. I mean, who is?
With Kofi, I heard, I don't know how true it is, that he wasn't even planning to be in the match, that he took Mustafa Ali's
That's exactly what I read also, and the funny thing is that when Ali first got injured, I was reading like lists people was putting out there of people who could possibly take his place in a situation like this, and I didn't even see Kofi on it, and so he was like double disrespected, and he stepped up in a major way, and real wrestling fans know that Kofi has this kind of talent. You just don't see guys with his stature and Bryan's stature get put in those main event moments that often, but they can deliver.
Yeah, it was really something special. I haven't been that, I watch it religiously, man. I haven't been that invested in a while. I was really, really pulling for Kofi, and you know, on top of that, I'm a huge Daniel Bryan mark. So you know, I found myself in the odd situation pulling against one of my favorites, but I like Kofi a lot too. He's one of my favorites. I just feel like he deserves better, and I feel like it's coming, man. They've already kind of started, you know.
Yeah, I think so. Hey, this has been an excellent edition today, man. I appreciate everybody tuning in. I appreciate you being with us too, Clyde. Do you have any closing thoughts today? We're going to wrap this up. Is there anything you want to say?
Yeah, you know, I hope everybody that listens to this enjoys it, and if you don't agree with us, you know, let us have it, you know. Pretend like it's wrestling. Come at us.
Cut a promo in the comments. That's the way Mr. McMahon would want it right there.
Yeah. Call us Daniel Bryan Marks, you know, because we met the guy, and you know, it's a very, very good experience for us, you know. But I hope everybody enjoys it, and maybe check out some of our other affiliates: Bliss Army, Becky Lynch Mob, Hitman Hart, WWF LJ and Maniacs.
And they can reach it, and these are all on Facebook?
They're all on Facebook, and we'll share our wrestling podcast all over, and I hope people enjoy it, and if you do, let us know, and if you don't, or if you got any tips or whatever, you know, just hit us with something.
And if not, I guess we got 2 words for you.
Thank you.
That's right. Yeah, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back soon with something cool. We're always trying just different formats, different content, just really trying some things out here. We appreciate the regulars for listening, and we'll see you back soon with something else cool. Thanks for listening.